First one, you'll get it. So round the back she's got the letters of the alphabet and the input-output socket. So she plugs the N into its input, we're starting there. She plugs the E to its output and starts it at ZZB. Okay? So as the machine rotates these drums, if there's a wire in position where the N comes out as an E, this Enigma will try and stop the machine. Okay? But of course, we won't let it stop unless all 12 of them find it, because that's the test. All right, we're looking for a wiring position where all 12 work. These three indicator drums tell you, they start at ZZZ, okay, because we're going to do all the possible combinations. When it stops, it will point at three letters. Now, the three letters are not the message setting. There's an entry on Wikipedia which is incorrect here. What it is the offset from ZZZ, which allows you to calculate the real message setting. All right, so if you see that, you'll know that you can put that right. When she's plugged this all up, she chooses an input letter to feed the current through the chain of 12, all right? And in this case, it's the letter G. If you want to know more about that, ask me afterwards, because that's too complicated to go into now. So let's run it for the first stop. So the motor is only driving the top row of spindles, okay? So it turns that A to Z against two letters. When it's been round once, it nudges that on another letter, A to Z against another two letters. And that way you can do all 17,500 tests, and each three-letter group, and all Enigmas have the same 30 millisecond window to do the test. If there isn't a position where all 12 work, these will go back to ZZZ. It means that this is incorrect. Even though it lines up, there is no key of the day that will give you that, to give you that. So you need to slide it down again, write a new menu, keep going until you find one that works. Okay, so the bomb has stopped. So the logic relays at the back have said all 12 of these pairs have worked. Okay, the indicator drums are showing three letters, right? So if that is the correct one, we'll be able to derive the message setting. Now around the side, there's a little slot there that the wren's called a letterbox, because it looks like a letterbox. Okay? There's a little metal pin, and it gives two pieces of information. Now the first one, crucially, it's saying, of the three banks running, this is the one that caused the stop. Now, if we go back to this for a moment, you remember Martin told you, you choose 3 rotors out of 5, and the order matters, so that's 60 permutations, okay? So if I run this menu on 20 bombs, each bank can test one of those permutations. So one there, one there, one there. So if I run 20 on 20 bombs, all 60 permutations are covered. So one of them must have the correct permutation, all right? And which one is it? It's usually the bomb that stops, and it's the bank on the bomb that stopped. Doesn't always work, but you can correlate to make sure. So this is already a good candidate for the first part of the key of the day, all right? The second thing in there is pointing at a letter, and the bomb is saying, you remember Martin told you about the 10 plug pairs on the front? The bomb is saying, I found one of them that aligns with the wiring of the rotor to give us the answer. Now, this is where they hit the problem, and this is where Gordon Welshman came to the rescue. If you run this menu on the original machine Victory, you will get over 200 stops, all right? Now, only one of them can be correct, okay? The other, just down to random chance. 200 stops is almost unusable. You know, it could have been done, but the output of Bletchley would have been tiny. Gordon Welshman looked at it and he said we can improve the bomb by adding a thing called the diagonal board on the back. And it was the first time it was ever done, a logical feedback loop, multiple feedback loop was added to the machine. So every incorrect stop would go through this logic route and it would say that cannot work. The result was it went from 200 stops to 4. 4 stops you can check, all right? So without Welshman, it would have worked, but it wouldn't have worked anything like as well. So these 4 stops, how did you check them? Well, the girl who ran this machine, there's 2 round the back, it's called a checking machine, and it's basically one of these Letchworth Enigmas lying on its side, but it's got a keyboard where you can type in a letter, it will go through the rotors and light up a white letter. It sounds like an Enigma, doesn't it? So what she'd do is she'd ask the bomb operator, tell me about the stop. So she'd load all the information onto her machine. You'll notice the 3 drums on here are the same colour as these 3, okay? So she's emulating where the bomb is. The test, though, is to take the menu, starting with the N, type in each letter of the menu on the black key, see what white letter lights up, because it's potentially the remaining 9 plug pairs off the front of the machine, okay? So as she's going round, if she can get all the way round, it's the correct stop, all right? Incorrect stops will give her contradictions. You'll get somewhere around on this stop, when you get to the R, the machine says the R is connected to 2 letters simultaneously, which is physically impossible. There's only one end of a bit of wire. So she will know for sure which is the correct stop. On a good day, she'll find the correct stop by about 5 o'clock in the morning. So the key of the day was set at midnight, 5 o'clock in the morning, the bomb's done its bit. Now what do we know? Well, if we go back to the sheet the Germans were using, first bit, which 3 rotors in which order? We know that, because the bomb's told us that, okay? The checking machine has just told us all 10 of the plug pairs, because she went all the way around the menu without a contradiction. We know how to calculate ABD from the 3 letters of the correct one. The bit you're left with, unfortunately, is the alphabetical ring, the Ringstellung, because when you change it, as he's doing in the photo there, you rotate it, you pull out the pin and rotate it relative to the wiring. There's no wiring change, it's only a logical change. And the bomb is a circuit-based machine, so the bomb can't find it. So what you have to do, you call the mathematicians back. You give them the output of the bomb, give them the menu and say, can you go off and calculate the remaining unknowns? However, they are in that happy position of more knowns than unknowns, right? Now this is my question for you. Don't feel bad if you don't answer it. Can you remember back to your maths days? What did you use for calculate more knowns from unknowns, the unknowns from more knowns? Nearly simultaneous equations, a derivative of it. So it was a maths teacher who answered it. So, simultaneous equations, you remember? You could write them all out, so it's based on that. So the mathematicians would at 5 o'clock in the morning take all this, go away and give it a go. Now, if the menu didn't have a loop, then sometimes they came back and said it can't be done, not in the time available, right? But they did succeed nearly 25,000 times. 25,000 keys of the day were recovered across all the radio networks, and that equates to 2.5 million messages were deciphered by Bletchley Park over the course of the war. So what they do is they'd come back after 2 or 3 hours and they'd say, we have it. We have the one setting that's been used out of the 158 million trillion possible settings, and it's 8 o'clock in the morning on a good day. All right? So Hitler was very badly advised to rely on this machine. Thankfully he did throughout the war. All right? So you need to check your key of the day. You take your Enigma machine, load it on, type in the ciphertext, 1 letter at a time starting with the S, and what you want to light up is better for us after. If it lights up, it's the correct key of the day. That means for that 24-hour period, you're going to decipher all German messages sent on that radio network. There's 50 to do, and at midnight, the whole thing starts again with a brand new key of the day. They've got one last problem, volume. You might have realised, typing in 1 letter at a time on an Enigma sheet, you can't decipher many messages. So when Churchill asked for 10,000 in a day, in 1942, they had a problem, okay? So the problem was solved by this machine in the corner here, called Typex. And Typex was built by the British government using the same technology as Enigma. Incidentally, they built it with 5 rotors. And a 5-rotor machine was almost certainly unbroken in the Second World War. You cannot run a bombed machine accurately enough and fast enough to break a 5-rotor machine. You'd have to go to electronics and valves and something like that. Anyway, so